we ended up pulling that one out.
A Friday night at the corner of Edgar and Dave. And after a thrilling opening night win, the Mariners continue this 4-game series. Game 2 against the Athletics from inside T-Mobile Park.
Give me some more. Give me some more. Let's go.
Fans continue to make their way in. As last night, the Mariners won a late inning thriller. Glad you're with us as always. Aaron Goldsman alongside Ryan Rowland-Smith. And Ryan, from the red carpet last night, the pregame festivities to some late inning magic. It had a little bit of everything last night.
Yeah, last night was so electric, especially late in that game. You mentioned the pregame festivities, but just getting going late and some big home runs from some guys you really want to get off to a good start.
And Logan Gilbert was fantastic, and the big bats came in the 8th inning. That leads us to our Northwest Chevy Silverado drive of the game. And well, you can't forget this one. Randy Arozarena with the Mariners down a run, nearly found the second deck.
And this was with 2 strikes. You see Leclerc tried to get him again with that slider. And look at him, the gesture towards the dugout. He's like, all right, let's go. Now we're awake. All of a sudden, they are in business against the A's.
Yeah, that brought a real charge into this ballpark. Over 42,000 fans. Luke Raley would then draw a walk. This ball game was all tied up as Jorge Polanco, who we know struggled last season, wasn't healthy, off-season knee surgery.
Right.
His 3rd hit of the game last night was a go-ahead 2-run home run.
Yeah, first of all, the at-bat, too. You could tell it was leading into this moment where all of a sudden he gets a fastball, he can handle it. By the way, straightaway center field. We talked all about the injury last year off that knee, hitting from the left side. First of all, the 2 base hits, and then all of a sudden, straightaway center field. And by the way, we talked about Mason Miller being in that bullpen. That 8th inning was huge. Get to Leclerc, they did that. Huge win, picking up Logan Gilbert. Great game 1.
Yeah, it kept Mason Miller down, and it got Andres Munoz up, who got the save last night in game 1, and got a little help behind him defensively as well. It was a pretty dazzling final play of the game, a double play orchestrated by, of course, J.P. Crawford to seal a Mariners opening day win. No better hype man than JP. That's right. He knows what's going on. Mariners and the A's. Game 2 is coming up. We'll talk some starting pitching with Luis Castillo on the mound tonight. Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by the Washington Traffic Safety Commission. Always drive sober and wear your seatbelt. We all play a role in keeping our roads safe. And by Steel. To find your local Steel dealers, visit steeldealers.com. Last night we had the GoPro up in the booth, the time lapse from all of the opening day festivities. A little over 40,000 in the building last night to see that late 8th inning comeback, and they're gone. Everybody making their way back inside T-Mobile Park tonight. Game 2 of 4, Mariners and the Athletics. The roof is closed. A little bit of a cool evening, but pleasant nonetheless. Temperature right now about 50 degrees. Our Western Washington Toyota Dealers pitching matchup. This is an interesting one. Jeffrey Springs making his A's debut. Had Tommy John surgery not all that long ago on the road back. Luis Castillo, hyphen, we're used to seeing him. Well, on opening day. This year was Logan Gilbert getting that turn. So Castillo going in game 2. It's amazing. There is some thought that maybe it was a disappointing season last year for Luis Castillo, maybe by his standards, but overall we just saw the numbers. It was still a very productive season.
Yeah, still really good. And again, the expectation and the standard is so high for Luis Castillo. As we've seen, this is his 3rd full season in the Seattle Mariners uniform. You mentioned getting a front row seat last night to Logan Gilbert, where he was just absolutely dominating the strike zone. And I think for Luis Castillo, 32 years old, slower start last year too, Aaron. You mentioned that, 2024 in April. First couple were a little rough. Wasn't getting that put-away pitch, that fastball to the top of the strike zone. But take a page out of Logan's book last night. Get to 2 strikes and then put these Oakland A's hitters away.
Castillo going tonight in game 2 against the Athletics. Just moments ago, how can you not love this guy? Cal Raleigh, who today was formally announced with his 6-year extension, held a press conference here inside the ballpark, and just minutes ago was presented his gold and platinum glove. His entire family soaking in the moment with him. Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by PNC Bank, your MLB opening week presenting sponsor, brilliantly boring since 1865. And by your local Ford dealer, home of the F-150, America's best-selling truck for 48 years. It is Luis Castillo up on the mound tonight. Game 2, Mariners and the Athletics from inside beautiful T-Mobile Park. Aaron Goldsmith, Ryan Rowland-Smith, happy to have you with us for Mariners baseball on Root Sports. Last night, Mariners pitching really handcuffed the top 5 in the order. In fact, they did not have a hit, especially Butler and Rooker, who last year down the stretch were one of the best duos in all of baseball. Well, Tyler Soderstrom is a different story. Last night he had 2 of the A's 3 hits, a couple of solo home runs. Seth Brown, the veteran, is in the lineup today. He had last night off. One more lefty than we saw last night in the game. And the youngsters at the bottom of the order once again in Muncy and Wilson. Season debut for Luis Castillo. 30 starts last year, Ryan. He did end the season on the injured list with a hamstring, so I'm sure he's eager to get out there even more so because of that.
Yeah, for sure. And we talked about how he kicked it off last year. A slower start. The velocity was down just a little bit. And he struggled putting hitters away. So take a look, see where that velocity is tonight, and see if he can get to that top part of the strike zone with that fastball.
Butler goes after the first pitch and sails it out to left field. Comes right to Randy Arozarena, who sets up early for it. And there is out number 1. Arozarena in left. It's the typical outfield. Julio and Robles in right field. Dylan Moore, who did not play last night, makes his season debut. He's at second base. Ryan Bliss gets the night off, and Mitch Garver does the catching with Cal Raleigh DHing. One pitch and one away. Here is Brent Rooker. He goes after the first pitch, sails this to right field, and Victor Robles, a little leap near the wall.
You can see Victor Robles mimicking
Yes.
Randy Arozarena, a little step back catch. You can see him laughing across the outfield.
There is a chance for the very rare 3-pitch inning here, and it seems like it'd be very fitting if it found Julio.
What do? You just go straight down the middle here, or what?
I mean, if you're Blade, you're taking here, right?
Surely.
Well, in off the plate. We'll never know. Logan hydrating last night was sensational. He made his first career opening day start. Just 1 run on 2 hits over 7 innings. Did not walk a batter and struck out 8.
He talked about the nerves going into his first opening day and what that meant. I think that lasted, what, hitter 2? He was dialed in, man. 0-2 on everyone last night.
Well, that was remarkable. He fired a first pitch strike to all but 2 hitters over 7 innings. Dealing with a little bit of a bruise on his backside after taking that line drive. 111 miles an hour off the bat of Butler last night, but he's all right, all things considered.
I asked him, I said, hey, listen, was there any chance you were coming out of that game? You know, before the game today, I was talking to him, and I said, you know, they had the bullpen going. There was probably a conversation. He goes, oh, someone was warming up?
Oh, really?
I said, yeah. He goes, oh, I didn't know that. He goes, I was just down the top. No, I was good. I was like, okay. That's good to hear. He said, who was warming up?
Yeah, he's going to go after Bizardo now?
Yeah.
2 outs and a full count to J.J. Bleday, number 3 hitting center fielder. This is just a touch outside at 96, and Bleday draws a 2-out walk.
We've seen some 95s, 96. We didn't see that in spring training, but that's typical Luis Castillo the last couple of years, where he hovers around the 92, 94, and then gets out here opening day. Velocity spikes back up again.
Instead of Shea Langoliers. Yeah, I'm sure there's a little extra adrenaline even for a veteran like Luis Castillo. That being said, of all the Mariners starters, it seems like he is the one that is most likely to build his fastball velocity as the season kind of progresses through the early months. One ball and 1 strike. Now he has really dominated the A's as of late. 5 consecutive quality starts against the Athletics, and in that time a sub-2 ERA. So even a little bit better than your standard quality start his last 5 times out against this team. One and 2 to Langoliers. Former 9th overall draft pick out of Baylor by the Atlanta Braves. Bleday, good speed, the runner at first.
As that fastball, he tried it Langelier is a guy who struggled last year against the fastball. See if he goes back up there, 2-2 count.
So full count to back-to-back hitters. This after the first two batters were retired on 2 pitches combined. Three-2 from Castillo. He's got a piece. Mariners winning last night on opening day. They won 4-2. We talked about the tremendous start from Logan Gilbert. The Mariners getting a couple of late inning home runs. Jorge Polanco, the game-winning 2-run homer out to center field. Of course, Randy Arozarena tying things up. Nearly reached the second deck. 3-2. Fastball misses away. Consecutive walks with 2 outs. Not what Castillo had in mind.
Yeah, we saw this at times last year with Luis Castillo getting in deeper counts, getting out of that attack mode. As you look at the pitches too, again, a little bit of an uptick in the slider usage, getting away from that four seam, especially that changeup as well. That's a pitch that, as the years have gone on, he's gotten less and less usage out of. But getting in those deep counts, and again, early on in this year, you mentioned Aaron just working into these starts, getting right.
2 outs and 2 on for Tyler Soderstrom, who had the offense last night for the A's, a pair of solo homers. That fastball clips the edge for a strike. You know, you look at the numbers last year for Castillo, and the thing that really stands out, he had a hard time against lefties, something Pete Woodworth is well aware of. Of course, Castillo, back in his days with the Reds, he was known so much for that changeup, which is such a great neutralizer against lefties. He's gotten away from that pitch more and more each year, and has thrown his fastball, his four-seamer in particular, more and more as a result. But lefties hit 70 points higher against Castillo than right-handers last year. He had his lowest strikeout rate against left-handers in his career. Soderstrom bounces this over to first base. Solano gets the start there, and Castillo fields the bag for out number 3. Victor Robles getting set to lead things off for the Mariners. We make our way to the bottom of the first, scoreless. A little bit of a different looking lineup for Dan Wilson with the lefty on the mound today for the Athletics. Victor Robles, of course, leading off as usual. Cal Raleigh DHs today. Mitch Garver gets in there. He does the catching. Meanwhile, Donovan Solano, a free agent addition to the Mariners this offseason. He makes his Mariners debut at first base. And Gold Glover Dylan Moore starts at second base. .30-year-old Jeffrey Springs is up on the mound. He's making his Athletics debut. He misses just a little bit high for ball one. Springs not a hard thrower, has that great changeup coming off of Tommy John.
Yeah, last time he was in Seattle, 5 innings 9 punch outs. A lot of them coming from that changeup. He dominated. That was his second last game of the season last year in the Tampa Bay Rays uniform.
And acquired via trade by the Athletics over the offseason. Last 4 years with Tampa.
There it is.
You could see what that looked like to Victor Robles based on that check swing attempt. He's behind here 1-2. A wave and a miss at another changeup well off the plate.
And this is how it was. Again, we're talking September of last year for the Tampa Bay Rays. 9 strikeouts. Jeffrey Springs is not a guy who gets deep into games either. Not super efficient. He came up as a bullpen arm, and then Tampa Bay Rays made the acquisition to get him from the Boston Red Sox. Wanted to turn him into a starter. Tried adding a cut fastball before the beginning of last year, but he kind of pushed that aside. They're just dealing with some of the injuries. Aaron, you mentioned the Tommy John earlier, and had some elbow issues at the end of last year.
1-0 to Julio. Swings out of his shoes. And not a hard thrower. A fastball somewhere between 89 to 91. Whiffs on a slider over the plate. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes to Julio. So the A's, the first 2 games of the season with starting pitchers that were added this offseason. A little bit of a new look rotation. And Julio down on a well-located fastball. A couple of strikeouts to begin the A's career for Jeffrey Springs.
And you see what that fastball does too. And you see that pitch down and away, the changeup to get Robles, and then that fastball kind of the same tunnel. And when you got that changeup in the back of your mind, especially from your internal scouting report, seeing him here in T-Mobile Park last year, man, it makes that 91 look like 101.
Now, the Mariners, as we all know, did not hit for a high average last year as a team. That was especially the case against lefties like Springs. This is a lineup that you would think, it's day 2 of the season, but you would think would be able to hit lefties much better this year. As Cal Raleigh climbs in and looks like maybe caught a break there. Our EQC Tracer has that just getting in the top rail of the strike zone. 2-0. Of course, when I say that, you are assuming that there is bounce back potential. Guys like Mitch Garver, guys like Jorge Polanco. Right. Donovan Solano added, who does not offer much in terms of power, but has been one of the better hitters for average in all of baseball in the last few years. And he's hit lefties very well. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Cal. Rosarena on deck, hoping for a chance to hit here in the first inning. (3-2) and a misses high. A 2-out walk to Cal Raleigh. Two outs and a man aboard for Randy Arozarena as he takes the first pitch strike. A walk and a home run last night for Randy, his first full season with the Mariners. Came over at the deadline last year from Tampa Bay. Count gets to 0-2. Tonight's KeyBank key stats. Last night, his first career opening day home run. Now, the Mariners' first game-tying home run in the 8th inning or later on opening day since '86 when Jim Presley hit one out. Two outs, Cal Raleigh at first. To center field. Sounded like he got it off the end of the bat. Bleday comes in a few strides and he puts it away for out number 3, and that walk to Cal Raleigh is stranded. Top of the second, no score to the Ford Sports Desk. Jen?
Well, you don't want to see back-to-back walks in the first inning, but for Luis Castillo, he was just kind of shaking it off. When he walked into the dugout, he was all smiles, knowing that he is just getting going. All smiles when he found out that Logan Gilbert was going to be the opening day starter. He said, Jen, I've already had 4 of them. How many do I need? It's well-deserved by Logan.
Yeah, pretty cool how Castillo handled all that. Of course, was in the room with Dan Wilson and Logan Gilbert when that news was shared with Logan for the first time.
Aren't we surprised that he was in the room when Logan was getting the news?
Yeah, I would never have guessed
Me
that.
too.
But I think that speaks to the dynamic of this group, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, when Logan mentioned, hey, look, he was in the room and I got the news, I'm like, well, hold on, was this like a team meeting? Or no, it was just, I was a little bit shocked by that.
Seth Brown on the ground to Solano, a little bit behind, as Castillo able to recover, and there is out number 1.
But again, it just goes to show, you know, Pete Woodworth there on the left, and then Dan Wilson, just that communication, that relationship you have. And not to mention too, man, Luis Castillo, who, by the way, said that was one of his goals this year with the Seattle Mariners, to be that opening day starter. You know, some of those things are out of your control, but in there, takes the news, and nothing but love for Logan Gilbert.
Here's Gio Urshela. Swings through that 2-seamer, running in for strike 1. Yeah, Castillo says he's always had essentially the same 3 goals every year: be the opening day starter, be an all-star, and win a Cy Young. You know, it's interesting talking.
By the way, I had the same goals when I was pitching. I promise you. Just didn't quite get. Yeah, just didn't quite get there.
You know, we were talking with Logan Gilbert not long ago, and he mentioned Cy Young, that is a goal of his as well one day. And it's obviously player to player, but some guys are more willing to share some more lofty goals like that than others. And I think some guys say, I don't make goals, and they probably just don't want to share them. Right?
Yeah,
they don't want to. They don't want to expose those, and that's perfectly fine. But I thought it was pretty cool hearing Logan say that, because truth be told, each one of those guys in that rotation should feel like that's something that they aspire to. We know the talent that's in this starting 5, of course, including George Kirby in that as well. Emerson Hancock, part of the starting rotation to begin the year, as Kirby's on the IL. They should all feel that way, shouldn't they?
Absolutely. And look, some things are out of your control, as we know.
This ground ball splits the right side, and Urshela is aboard.
But I got to say, just a good shot there of Bryce Miller, who, you know, he looks up to Logan Gilbert, a guy who's just, you know, that 1 year or 2 years just ahead of him on all that sort of development and career trajectory. And obviously Brian Wu's a couple steps behind Bryce Miller essentially. But now I got to say, and you know, when you're Bryce Miller, it's not always this tight, right? When you with your rotation mates, I've been in rotations where try and talk to guys, you're just not going to have that same rapport and those same conversations. I mean, these guys are at each other's bullpens, and then obviously this afternoon was cool when Cal Raleigh doing his press conference, and all of a sudden those guys rolled in. He's had the whole rotation basically hang, except for Luis Castillo getting prepped for tonight. But it just speaks volumes when you can have that relationship and you can just watch the guy right in front of you, be Logan Gilbert, and look up to it and aspire to what he's doing.
2-0 the count to Max Muncy. It's over the plate for a strike. Well, there's no way to measure it, and we'll never know exactly, but you have to believe that part of this rotation's success is simply one another, right? That whether helping one another, competing against one another. The 2-1. Check swing, and he does not go. 3 balls and a strike. But it's hard to imagine a rotation much closer in terms of just overall friendship than what the Mariners have.
I see Rowdy Tellez hanging out with the boys down there.
I want in on this.
Yeah.
Soft bouncer, JP, little flip. Dylan Moore, first base, not in time. Muncy beats it out. We'll see if the Mariners want to look at this or not. It was close.
And you see Max Muncy getting down the line here, beating that double play, but the young rookie making his debut last night.
Looks like he just gets there in time. That's a good shot, clearly safe. So 2 outs and a new runner at first base for Jacob Wilson, the number 9 hitter. Soft ground ball. Dylan Moore gathers to retire the side. A man left onto the bottom of the second. No score. Opening series of the season continuing tonight. It's game 2 of 4. The Mariners and the Athletics with the roof closed inside T-Mobile Park. Mitch Garver leading things off. On the ground, deep in the hole to Urshela. Long toss across, and it is dug out there by Soderstrom. 1 away. Root Sports Stream is the new app that lets in-market fans stream Mariners games for just $19.99 a month or free for participating cable and satellite customers. Start streaming now. Visit mariners.com/stream. You know, something unique about the Mariners direct-to-consumer streaming option is that it is actually 24/7 Root Sports, the station, not just Mariner games. So you can watch the Top Step podcast, Hyphen.
That's right.
It was on earlier today. I saw it.
You give me a plug. I appreciate
right.
that. No, it's good to have season 2. We had Logan Gilbert and yourself. Thank you for joining me yesterday. Get the season underway.
Well, it is a cool program. You get a lot of the players on there, and we both know this, and you can speak to it both from now as a member of the broadcast crew, but also as a former player. There is just kind of something different talking to a guy. Whoa, this is a charge down the left field line, but pulled foul. There's something different talking to a guy out of the clubhouse, away from the field, as opposed to kind of in the pressure cooker of being at the ballpark.
Absolutely. And, you know, look, it's called the Top Step because the top step of the dugout. That's where I had some of the best conversations I've ever had as a player. And just trying to have those conversations again, going down some rabbit holes, whether it's about pitching or whatever it is. But yeah, it's a tough one against Polanco. He's in the EQC tracing well outside. We kind of saw a little bit of a random strikes out early on last night, I felt like.
Yes, I
totally
agree.
And then it kind of tightened up. Again, we're used to seeing, just after a month of spring training games, the challenge system.
Mariner debut for Donovan Solano. Solano has bounced around a little bit. Last year was with the Padres. Takes this pitch well off the plate. Now, Solano is one of those guys who is a better hitter than you think of initially. He's with his 5th team in the last 5 years. Does not hit for great power, but last year played in about 100 games with the Padres and hit well, hit lefties especially well. He hit over 300 against left-handers. Count evens 2-2 on Solano. He's a guy who gives a little bit of defensive versatility as well. Plays first base. That's where he is tonight. Can play third. Also DHs. He swings and misses at that fastball just high and off the plate. That's 4 strikeouts for Jeffrey Springs. We move on to the 3rd, scoreless. Tonight's T-Mobile coverage cam. Take you down a ride down the left field line. It's the top of the order. Lawrence Butler takes a healthy hack at a fastball. Now, Butler is a player that the A's are very much trying to build around. Signed a 7-year, nearly $66 million extension in March. It really was rewarded for the second half last year, where he hit 20 home runs once he was recalled from the minors in June. Off the end of the bat, a skimmer out to J.P. Crawford. There is out number 1, down to Jen.
Yeah, yesterday was rocking for opening day, Aaron. 42,871 fans in attendance, and 42,868 of them got here after these 3 people. Sharon Hunt, David Duggar, and Holly Siebold were camped out. They were not going to let anybody get into the gates before they did. They have been longtime fans coming to opening day here since T-Mobile Park opened. It is certainly a great way to kick off the season. And if you ever take a walk around the ballpark, I promise you we're going to find one of those 3 long before any of us come through the security gate at T-Mobile Park.
Boy, that is impressive. We thank them. I got here before you did, Hyphen.
How about that? I was raring to go day 1.
Yeah, he brought his lunch and dinner.
I did.
1 ball and 1 strike to Brent Rooker. Now, how about last night for Rooker, by the way? 4 at-bats, 3 against Gilbert, 1 against Munoz, 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts from one of the most dangerous hitters in the American League last year.
Right. Logan Gilbert has his number, though. He looks not like a guy who hit 39 home runs. We saw that last year, continuing on to this year, but man, he was matched up. And some of the toughest guys you're going to face, especially coming out of spring training, too. 1 o'clock in Arizona.
Tries to hold up, and he clearly goes around. So first 5 at-bats of the year for Rooker have all ended the same way.
Now the guys facing tonight, Luis Castillo. We talked about that fastball getting to the top part of the strike zone or above it. So that went 95 on the top rail. That's what we're talking about. Last year, the first handful of starts, or the first 3, gone 5 innings, 5 2/3, 5 innings, giving up the 4 runs. Not getting that put away pitch over. Then all of a sudden he faced Toronto, punched out 6, and a lot of that was talking to Pete Woodworth, commanding that fastball, been on the attack with that fastball, the top part of the strike zone.
A well-located changeup there to the left-handed bat of Bleday. Bleday last year 6th in the majors in doubles. Two outs for the 0-2. I think this is one of the real questions this year about Castillo, and we touched on it in the early innings, and that is what will be the plan of attack this year against lefties, right? Does he go back to that changeup more, which the pitches use less and less?
I was just about to say, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I love that changeup. I want to see more and more of it. There's another one.
Well, ask and ye shall receive. J.J. Bleday strikes out on a filthy changeup. Side retired in order. First couple of strikeouts in the game for Castillo. To the bottom of the 3rd, Dylan Moore will lead things off. J.P. Crawford then back to the top of the order, and Victor Robles. Scoreless beginning the bottom of the third. Dylan Moore making his season debut. Looks at first pitch just missing outside. Last year a career high in at-bats and games played for Dylan Moore. He played at 6 different defensive positions. And last year winning the utility Gold Glove. It's the 3rd year that that award has been in existence.
Yeah, did much better against lefties as well, getting a chance here against Springs. Hitting 229 last year as opposed to 184.
Soft ground ball well off the bag. Springs races to first and they avoid a collision. Springs making sure that Dylan's okay and Dylan doing the same right back at him. Everybody's fine. And there's out number 1.
And I tell you what, and regardless of who you're facing, right or left, is that changeup has been so tough. Near collision. Well, what makes it tougher too, Aaron, I think when you're watching a guy like Springs, obviously you see the velocity, it's 89, 90, 91. What happens is, as you hear guys come back into the dugout, it's kind of that quick little, 60-foot visual scouting report. Hey, what'd you say? Hey, change up. And then they start making comments about the change up, this and that. You hear that up and down the dugout. And so I can get in the back of your head. You start protecting against that pitch, 2nd time, 3rd time through. And that becomes tough. We saw that last time he was here. I was watching his game last time here against the Mariners. And just off balance. We saw Julio off balance that first at bat.
Well, here is the only lefty that Springs will face tonight. J.P. Crawford batting 9th. Now for Springs, the guy who's been around for a while, he's in his 8th major league season, his last 4 with the Rays. But here's the thing, he's pitched in only 10 games the past 2 seasons because of Tommy John surgery. He had that back in April of 2023. Last year he returned from Tommy John at the end of July. He pitched a full healthy month of August. Things were looking good, but then had to be shut down in early September, right after he faced the Mariners, in fact, because of elbow fatigue. A guy who had a real breakout season back in 2022 with the Rays. He made 25 starts that year. Also pitched a little bit in relief, but more strikeouts than innings pitched. He had a sparkling ERA beneath 2.5. This is down the line, but pulled foul. It was because of that year, that season, his first as a starting pitcher. The Rays gave him a 4-year, $31 million extension. And then unfortunately for both sides, it was right after that that he had to have Tommy John. He's made 10 starts since the extension.
Yeah, and it was the Rays who looked at him and said, look, we value you as a starting pitcher, your makeup.
JP gets underneath this one a little bit into shallow right field. Lawrence Butler makes the catch. The J-Rod Squad, presented by Adidas, is back for this season. You can grab main level seats in center field for any game, and on Tuesdays and Fridays, score your own no-fly zone t-shirt. Mariners.com/JRod to get your tickets.
You know what? It's interesting too. I mean, look, the Athletics, stay two.
Oh, you're gonna have to hurry. We'll save this for another inning. Robles grounds out, and the side retired in order. 1 over the minimum through 3 for Springs. MLB opening week is brought to you by PNC Bank. Shea Langeliers leads it off. We talked about Lawrence Butler being a young core member of this Athletics team, and there's no doubt that Langeliers is somebody who's viewed that way as well. Last night made his third consecutive opening day start. Ball's behind here, 0-2. Former first-round draft pick by the Braves was traded by Atlanta to Oakland in exchange for Matt Olson, all-star first baseman.
Yeah, they kind of have their own young core of players, kind of like the Mariners do. You mentioned that second half too. Obviously, Lawrence Butler just went off, but played over 500 the second half. That core, you're talking Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker, Shea Langeliers, Mason Miller, you throw him in there.
Yeah, last year, 19 more wins than the season before. Now, they still lost 93 games, but this was a team that was coming off back-to-back 100-loss seasons, including the worst season in Oakland A's history. They lost 112 games back in 2023, and Mark Kotsay's had to go through some really lean times, and he was rewarded just recently with a 3-year contract extension, so he will usher them through the Sacramento era. Can we call it that? There is out number 1. They will be playing the next 3 years, with this year being the first in Sacramento.
It's definitely going to be 3 years, though, right? We're pretty much.
Well, I don't know if definitely can be used at any point in this conference.
Well, at least 3 years.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
The plan is to break ground in Las Vegas in June. That's the plan.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because again, going into last year, and we knew all about the drama with the relocation in Sacramento and everything that went with it. And the players felt that too. You know, I was talking to some of these guys around the organization as well. Spoke to Jacob Wilson about when he came up, and look, he's coming up to make his debut. He's fired up to be a major league player. But you look at that, but then you read and you hear some of the quotes from players that they're selling tickets in Sacramento. They're sold out opening night. They've sold out a bunch of games within hours. 14,000 seat stadium, going from the Coliseum where everything was run down. Now all of a sudden they've got a passionate city that's ready for him to come and be there the next couple of years. They're making all kinds of upgrades to that ballpark.
1-2 to Soderstrom. Count stays put.
You talk about that young core, obviously the rebuild too, but you look at Luis Severino, signed him to a $60+ million 3-year deal. Jeffrey Springs, we're just talking about a big trade to get him. He's owed $10 million. Obviously Jose Leclerc, we saw him last night. So they're onto something, the Athletics.
Now it is interesting for the A's. Let's not confuse by their standards, generous spending this offseason as just simply wanting to improve, but they were at risk of becoming ineligible for revenue sharing as a result of not spending on payroll. So they were at a point where they had to spend, or if not, risk a grievance from the players union.
Right.
So this was something that was probably a long time coming, and they decided to open up the checkbook a little bit this offseason.
Luis Severino put his hand up and said, "Yep, sign me up."
Soderstrom comes up empty on a high fastball, and Luis Castillo has struck out 3 of the last 4 batters.
Yeah, we talk about the usage of the changeup against lefties, and pair that with that fastball. That's what we're talking about. 95, 96. It'll be 2-seam or 4-seam. Such a weapon for Luis Castillo. When you can see these two pitches mixed. Changeup too. Again, see more of him tonight, but the usage is dropping over the years.
That sounded like it got a piece, and it does. It clips Seth Brown. A 2-out base runner. He's hit by the first pitch.
Nice pitch up and in. See where Mitch Garver's set up. The ball to tail back out over the plate, but keeps running inside.
Two-out base runner. In steps Gio Urshela. Had a hard base hit into right field his last time up. Called a strike. Urshela, part of the new additions this offseason for the Athletics, a free agent sign. Wave and a miss.
See Urshela, 6 teams over the last 5 seasons. Yankees, Minnesota, finish up with the Braves at the end of last year with all those injuries they had.
Brown was taken off. That's fouled at the plate. Urshela has the only hit in this game so far. Oh, 2 from Castillo.
You see 62 pitches here in the 4th inning. Interesting to see how deep he goes in the game. It's not just the pitch count, the up and down as well.
Close miss. He got him. 94 up and away. 4th strikeout for Luis Castillo. Julio getting set to lead things off. We march on to the bottom of the 4th. Luis Castillo has settled in nicely. He's held the A's off the board over the first 4 innings. Mariners are looking for their first hit against Jeffrey Springs. Julio leads it off. Is Springs the kind of pitcher that is salivating, trying to take advantage of how aggressive you are as a hitter at the plate?
Absolutely. And I think, too, what happens, especially first start of the year, like that right there, you get just a couple of those swings and misses. Talk about this in spring training about when you're working on a new pitch or that you're trying to just gauge reaction from hitters. But when you start a season off, and it's that first inning, you're not quite sure how it's going to play out. You kind of driving to the ballpark or on the bus to the ballpark, whatever. You start to sort of play it in your head. But then all of a sudden, you see that reaction early, and you start to go, all right, I'm just going to live in this spot. If that plus pitch, that changeup's working, just like that.
Well, he gets Julio to go chasing after him. He has sat down 8 in a row now. That's the 5th strikeout. Get free MLB TV with T-Mobile. Redeem today at T-Mobile.com/MLB. This is the second time through the order for Springs. Here's Cal Raleigh. It was around 3:30 today that Cal Raleigh was center stage inside the main press conference room. This is up the middle and backhanded behind second base by Muncy. Throws on a skip. And Cal is out number 2. He was at the microphone at the podium along with John Stanton and Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander as they officially announced a 6-year extension for Cal as they buy out his first 3 years of free agency. And you know, Cal first of all made it very clear how much this city and this organization and this fan base, he underscored that numerous times, means to him. Here's Randy Arozarena. And although he will have many years left in his career once this extension is over, he was very transparent. He wants to be a Mariner for life.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, everyone talks about his leadership, the fact he's behind the dish, regardless of what he does offensively. But you know, it's interesting. You heard Jerry Dipoto when he started talking about, hey, look, this has been a 2-month process roughly, but I got a chance to talk to Casey Cluse, who represents Cal Raleigh. Talked about, I asked him, I said, well, hey, when did this really sort of spark up, this conversation with Cal? Because you know, you sort of question, was this something that they sort of hint at, whether it be mid-season in 2024 at the end of last year, whatever it may be. But they said they were going through arbitration. And that was kind of that time when the Mariners said, listen, he's our guy. We want to invest in him. Of course, you know, can we start that conversation? So it was around the time when they were going through arbitration, about middle of January. And then, you know, Cal mentioned he got the news during spring, and some good news when you all of a sudden you talk an extension.
Now, there's no question about that. That's the 6th strikeout for Springs. He's yet to give up a hit through 4. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. Max Muncy leads it off, made his major league debut last night. Big bounder over to Polanco, even with the bag. A low throw and handled by Solano. 1 pitch and 1 away. All right, Ryan.
Oh.
They had you in mind, my friend. Hello Kitty Night is soaring to new heights at T-Mobile Park this season. Tomorrow, Ryan, you'll be here. The Mariners are hosting their first ever ballpark-wide Hello Kitty event featuring, yes, these bucket hats for the first 10,000 fans. You're going to beat those early fans in the ballpark tomorrow.
Well, for the first 9,999, because
You're gonna grab
one is going to be up here. They'll make these in adult sizes or what?
Mariners.com to lock in your tickets. Oh, yeah. No, you're good.
I do have a big head. I'm going to make sure we got the adults. Maybe I get one custom made. Who knows?
Oh, that's tomorrow
That's
night.
sweet. I like them. Perfect for summer.
Jacob Wilson, the batter, with 1 out. Number 9 hitter. Swings out of his shoes a little bit. Fouls it away. Wilson just 22 years old. Made his major league debut last year. Little squibber fair. Solano takes him right to the bag. There is out number 2. You know, I'm curious to see what Wilson's career will be like. So is everybody with the A's, but he strikes me as somebody who maybe falls into the bucket of he can make too much contact.
Right.
Like that can be a problem.
You know what's interesting? You know, like Stephen Kwan last year, going in, look, one of the best players in the game, don't get me wrong, but he went into 2024 and he still had that feeling, you know what, I need to generate more power. The whole focus of going into 24 was, not that I agree with this, but because the game is so, you know, power, extra base hit centric, where you feel like you have to have that element to your game. But you're right. You know, I mean, the fact he got drafted just a couple of years ago here in Seattle, and that's his biggest attribute, is that bat to ball. You mentioned that last night. But is there going to become a time where it's like, hey, listen, we need you just to sell out on some of these swings. Let's try and hit for more power. You can swing and miss just a little bit more.
Yeah, because I'm not saying that Jacob Wilson should ever hit 30 home runs or will ever hit 30 home runs. He doesn't certainly profile as that, but a guy like him who has that exceptional bat to ball skills, he must feel like he can put the barrel on the ball no matter where it's pitched. This ball is charged to center. Julio has to watch it just get pegged in the bottom of the fence, and Lawrence Butler stands up at second base with a double. And when you have that type of ability, you end up hitting it off the very end of the bat and hitting little 16 hoppers, and you're out almost every time.
Yeah, all of a sudden, you know, it goes to your detriment just like that, because you get a little bit more aggressive. You get confident in that bat to ball. Man, this is center cut. Lawrence Butler. We saw plenty of this in that second half of last year, but you know, just going back to Jacob Wilson, you're right. And by the way, too, from a pitcher standpoint, unless obviously you know runners on base, if Jacob Wilson eventually gets up in that leadoff spot or hitting second, as a pitcher, your mentality is like, you know, I'm going to just go after you because you're not going to beat me with power, and then you can get some quick outs against guys like that. So, no, I'm with you. I was thinking that last night watching him hit and trying to profile him as a hitter.
Because if you're facing somebody like Wilson who is that aggressive, swinging at anything near the strike zone, do you feel like, hey, if I can just get him to expand a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the other part is too, a situation, let's say, you know, again, depending on the situation, where you have, you know, 2-run lead or a 3-1, whatever, and you said second, third time through the lineup, and you have to, you know, have multiple ways to get guys out, like a Brent Rooker. You have to have weapons to get him out. Well, a guy like, you know, Jacob Wilson's like, all right, I'm going to go on the attack here because you're not going to beat me with power, and I know that.
Brent Rooker absolutely lifts this out to left center, and Julio has to watch it go over the fence and into the pen. And Brent Rooker's first hit of the season is something we are very familiar with. A 2-run home run. Nearly 400 feet, and the A's have taken a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, right on cue, interrupting me with the exact reason we're talking about. When you have that power in the back pocket, or you show just a little bit more authority in those swings, you can't make mistakes like this. Obviously, Brent Rooker, who's punched out 5 times in the last couple of days.
How close was this? Wow. Hit on the yellow padding and into the pen, as opposed to back out of the field. Here's Bleday. Now Wilson certainly seems like he has a bright future in front of him.
Sure.
I'd be curious to see how he evolves. We know Rooker's game very well. That's given the A's a 2-0 lead. A's have both runs and all 3 hits in this game so far.
And the other part, just to put a bow on that point with Jacob Wilson, you know, as your career gets on, you become an established major league player, which he will be. You start to try and strive towards being that complete hitter where you can have that power when you need it. Drive a ball when there's a 2-0 count. And with that, you know, it costs you some swing and miss.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Bleday. Now this inning, Castillo served a fastball up on a platter for Lawrence Butler, who doubled to center field and then left one over the plate to Rooker. And Lear's on deck with 2 outs. And last night, Butler and Rooker were held hitless. And if you want to handle the A's, you got to handle those 2 at the very top of the order. Broken bat, ground ball finds Dylan Moore, short toss to retire the side. Butler and Rooker do some damage, a double and a 2-run home run, and the A's have taken the lead. Our T-Mobile coverage cam, we take you back to last night. 9-year-old Blair from Sammamish, our Make-A-Wish run around the bases, and it is just one of the great traditions in baseball. Every year, that's right. Awesome. Blair was given a nod over there to Victor Robles. She did the Randy pose every year since the beginning of this ballpark. The first trip around the bases has been a young Make-A-Wish Mariners fan, and there's hardly a dry eye in the building when that happens. And that was the case last night, once again with Blair. It's great having her and her family here. Mitch Garver on the first pitch. And there is a base hit. Good things can happen. That snaps 10 in a row retired by Springs, and just the second base runner for the Mariners tonight.
Yeah, look, Springs in a groove, but on the other side, Mitch Garver, who's coming off a strong spring. Talk about some of the physical, you know, the swing changes he made and the refreshing mental change he made coming into spring. It was a tough year for him last year. He said the toughest year of his career. He came in with a different mindset this year in the camp. So this guy last night, Polanco, get off to a nice start. 3 hits, big home run. We'll see Mitch Garver do the same.
A game-winning home run last night for Polanco in the 8th inning. Ryan was referencing that start last year for Springs with the Rays here at T-Mobile Park. 9 strikeouts, just 1 hit over 5 scoreless, and he's kind of tracking for something similar tonight. Check swing, and Polanco goes.
Now that pitch, a big reason. That changeup just living down and away. Tell you what, though, I mean, look, put the injuries aside, and the one thing with him, look, we're talking early April. He's got 6 months of, you know, pitching in this rotation. That's been the one thing with Springs, is just being healthy, having that stamina. talked about trying to make adjustments. The Athletics did talk about making some adjustments for him to get through a 6-month season. But man, when he's on, he can be dominant. Look at the last 6 starts, one of the highest strikeout rates, 32% in the American League.
This is dropping into center field for a base hit. The hits just keep on coming for Jorge Polanco.
Again, we showed that start last time he was here in Seattle. And the difference was they couldn't get to him second time, third time through the lineup. Now all of a sudden they're starting to crack that code a little bit, lay off that changeup. Get that fastball, that 90 mile per hour, sit on it.
Mariners have a runner in scoring position for the first time tonight. Nobody out, 2 on. Donovan Solano tonight making his Mariners debut. And the knees for a strike.
And we're talking about that contact with Jacob Wilson last inning. This is where it's such an attribute for Solano. Put that ball in play.
This is skied. Foul ground, third base side. Urshela on the track, and he just misplays it. It was so high up there, he had room. He just didn't play it well.
That's a break for the Mariners. Urshela, known for his defense, maybe just kind of lost this up in that roof. You can see him just kind of take his eye off the ball just for a second, glancing up again. Make sure he wasn't going to run into any netting or wall. And huge break right now for the Mariners.
Solano last year hit over 300 against lefties. Nobody out, 2 on. The 1-2. Boy, good take just beneath the knees. 2-2. Garver is at first. Polanco at first base, both reaching on singles. First 2 hits of the ball game for the Mariners.
Yeah, this is where you get springs on the road. This is where you're just not getting those same bites from that changeup. That's where your heart rate starts to go up a little bit.
And he got him that time. The changeup gets a swing and a miss for strike 3 to Solano.
Again, goes back to his little safety zone right there. That changeup down and away. That's a good pair. That's tough. He's got that same arm speed coming out of that same tunnel.
1 out, 2 on. Dylan Moore, the batter. On the corner for strike 1. First opportunity for the Mariners tonight after Springs had sat down 10 in a row. Dropping center field and a base hit. Garver being waved home. Here comes the throw. Play at the plate. He's out. Bleday with a perfect strike home. And the Mariners have a runner cut down at home plate.
Now Bleday, he's got a good arm too, showing off that arm from center field, but man, you felt good about this. Just Mitch Garver just didn't get a good jump. And they tried to push a little bit, but Bleday showing off that good arm in center field.
Let's see if he missed the plate entirely. I think so. Yeah, that's the problem. Somewhat reminiscent of Bliss last night. Tried to reach back with his hand. Let's see if his foot got there in time, if we can tell. No, he didn't. No, it was just a good throw.
Yeah. talked to Ryan Bliss about that last night, just about what did he see, because, I mean, we were full too. I thought it was a little foul tip off the bat, but yeah, he kind of had an inkling, came off the glove, and he said he saw the umpire sort of reaching for another ball, so he's like, you know what, this is like a free pass, I'm just going to take off, because Langeliers behind the dish just wasn't motoring to get that ball at the backstop. So I thought, hey, if it's a foul ball, I'm going back to the base anyway. And he just kept going. Unfortunately, his foot bounced off the ground and beat the throw.
First pitch misses, ball 1 to J.P. Crawford. Robles on deck, top of the order. Well, the Mariners had first and second with nobody out, and now find themselves with 2 outs, first and second. Gregory Santos getting warmed up. Castillo at 83 pitches. Looks like his first start of the season could be done after 5. Very high. Two outs, 2 on, the 2-1. I wonder how much longer Springs has. Justin Sterner is warming up, a right-hander in the A's bullpen. You wonder how much they want to ease Springs into the season. We mentioned the elbow issues, Tommy John. And a right-hander due up next in Robles.
Yeah, look at the pitch count, 65. You said it too, Aaron. You know, again, one of the goals here is to get him through 6 months of health, paying $10 million. Is he number 2 in that rotation?
If it reaches Robles, it would be the 3rd time through. Two.
Yeah, this is really that. Only that high stress inning he's had here in the 5th. He's been cruising up until this point. It's a good at bat right here from JP. Trying to eliminate that changeup. Doesn't throw it left on left.
Well, Springs faced just 1 over the minimum through the first 4 innings. At one point retiring 4 in a row. Pardon me, 10 in a row. Crawford to the gap. Bleday chasing after it. He slides and Bleday reels it in and takes a hit away. The Mariners were primed in good position with first and second and nobody out. And that's where they leave them. And they cannot cash in. Luis Castillo done after 5 innings in his season debut.
Yeah, and we saw this, talked about at the beginning of last year coming out of the gates, but 5 innings, labored a little bit. You see the 83 pitches. Took him 19 to get through that last inning. That's where all the damage happened. Home run from Brent Rooker.
A 2-run home run. The offense so far. our Beacon Plumbing call to the pen. The season debut of Gregory Santos. First pitch squibbed on the ground to Solano. Well, it is great to see Santos before even April. Mariners did not see him for a long time last year. He pitched in only 8 games. He was on the injured list twice, including for a long time to begin the season.
Yeah, came over from the White Sox in the offseason. And I remember talking to Liam Hendricks when that trade was made. He said, hey, man, some of the best stuff I have seen is on the verge of being special. And unfortunately, some of the injuries, but you're right, Aaron.
There's a deep backhand by JP off 1 foot. It's up the line. And now Soderstrom makes the turn into second base. Solano's throw, tag, and it's out. He's out at second base. He might have overslid the bag.
Yeah, it looked like that left hand came off the base. And you got that split second. First of all, you turn around. And JP, that would have been an amazing play if you got that throw off, but just here you're looking at that. Oh, man.
Nope, clear as day.
Slipped right off that base.
Well, good on Solano for not giving up on that. When he made that throw, it looked like there'd really be no chance to get an out at second base, but so much for that. Seth Brown, the batter.
Yeah, Gregory Santos probably been profiled this year, if all goes well, as being that 8th inning, that back end part of the bullpen to help Andres Munoz, but lower leverage situation right now, just trying to get his feet underneath him. I guarantee there's so much adrenaline going through him right now. This first game, like you said, Aaron, coming out of spring training healthy, that's all that matters right now.
Yeah, he really put himself on the map back in 2023 with the White Sox. He made 60 appearances that year. Finished the season on the injured list with elbow inflammation, then was acquired that winter by the Mariners. Did not make his Mariners debut until the early part of July last season because of a lat injury. And then went back on the injured list on August 1st. He missed nearly 2 months because of bicep inflammation. And so right when he was getting things going again, he had to shut it back down. Really a frustrating year. You know, he's never been a real big swing and miss guy. Doesn't throw many 4-seam fastballs historically. More of that sinking fastball and a slider. He's been an elite ground ball pitcher because of that.
Yeah, I mentioned 2023 opponents hitting sub 200 against that slider, that pitch right there.
It's a 2-out walk to Seth Brown. He reaches for the second straight time up. With Mariner value games, you can score tickets starting at $10 to 30 select games at T-Mobile Park this season, including all 3 matchups next week against the Tigers Monday through Wednesday. Go to mariners.com/value to lock in your seats. Urshela takes a big rip and fouls it away. Over the plate. You go back to that 23 season with the White Sox when Santos really made a name for himself. He hit 102 and later 103 miles per hour.
Yeah, to go along with this slider you're about to see right here. Nasty.
1-2. Lays to center. Julio angling back and makes the catch. A man is stranded. A scoreless inning spun by Santos in his season debut. Another look at tonight's T-Mobile coverage cam. Bottom of the 6th inning, top of the order. Victor Robles leads it off. Spring's still in there. Drops a bunt down and it goes foul. And Langeliers make sure it stays foul.
We saw him do this a little bit last year when he came and joined the Mariners. That was a 3 if that stayed fair.
Robles last year hit .328 in nearly 80 games as a Mariner. He was incredible on the base paths. He was 30 for 31 stealing bases. Pretty good pitch to hit right there. 0-2. Julio on deck, then Cal Raleigh. Urshela at third base. One away.
Again, back to that changeup. First time, second time, third time through the lineup.
Julio, a couple of strikeouts, one on a fastball, last time on a changeup. Knob of the bat. All 3 Mariner hits coming to the 5th inning. We saw this last year. Julio getting pitched in a lot. Springs doing that this at bat in particular.
Yeah, it was a situation where, until he basically showed he could lay off that pitch, or at least barrel that pitch up, he was just getting pounded inside. Jeffrey Springs going back to last year too. Only pitching into the 6th. Just the one time his last start against Minnesota, and sure enough landed on the IL right after that outing.
Well, there is activity inside the A's bullpen as he's nearing 80 pitches. Sterner is warming up once again. We saw him loosening in the 5th. Third strikeout tonight for Julio. And changeup gets him again. That's the 8th strikeout for Springs. Once this one's over with, we'll have Mariners postgame presented by Emerald Queen Casino. Jen, Angie, and Brad will be with you. Two outs for Cal Raleigh.
Watching him with that changeup, he's been throwing all night long, down and away, but essentially sometimes you feel like when you're matching up against him, you want to get righties against the lefty. I get it when you start, sort of putting your lineup together, but sometimes you're doing him a favor when you feel that good about your changeup. And all right, I'm going to get a fastball changeup down the way all night against righties. Put 9 of them in the lineup.
Good take in off the plate. Cal gets ahead 2-1. Springs' career high in strikeouts is a dozen. That came a couple of years ago against the Tigers. His second highest strikeout total came in this building last year. He punched out 9 for those 5 innings, and he's 1 strikeout away from matching that this evening. 2-strike count to Cal Raleigh. Springs has really handled the top of this order for the Mariners. The 2-2. And he got him. The changeup again. 9 strikeouts for the second straight start against the Mariners for Jeffrey Springs. And what a season debut. What an A's debut for the left-hander. Tonight's PNC Bank slow-mo moment. Now this has been the big swing of the ball game. Brent Rooker, his first hit of the year, a 2-run home run that just got out.
Yeah, how about that? Just inches away from staying in, but see that home run. 5 strikeouts before this home run, 39 of them last year. See that ball was met at the plate.
Well, they say power comes at the front of the plate, and it looks like it right there. Fastball up and in, he was able to turn on. Here's Max Muncy It leads things off 8-9-1 for the A's. Edward Bizardo is up on the mound. A close miss there for ball one.
I see the numbers for Bizardo, 4.88 ERA, kind of that unsung hero coming in and picking up some innings last year.
Another very close miss. Muncy made his major league debut last night. He's at second base once again tonight in game 2. Zach Geloff normally we see at second base for the A's, but he's on the injured list to begin the year. A broken hamate bone. Muncy, one of the top prospects. Full count. Muncy lifts this into very playable right field. Robles makes a squeeze. One away. Here comes Jacob Wilson. Wilson batting ninth, a couple of ground ball outs in this one so far. This just gets past Solano's glove into right field. Wilson thinks about making the turn, but Robles gets to it quickly. This time a ground ball finds a hole on the right side. Just enough, a seeing eye single.
And that's what Bizardo does so well. Really hard ground ball rate, 56% of the time. You can see that movement on that fastball. I think with Bizardo too, you look at his stuff and up and down the year last year, but it's a big opportunity. I say this all the time. If you're in this situation, you're essentially always auditioning because you want those high leverage situations. I think if he can get inside the strike zone just a little bit more this year, give himself a chance to pitch in some bigger situations for the Mariners.
And it's facing Lawrence Butler here, leadoff man who doubled and scored his last time up. He came home on Rooker's home run. Bizardo falls behind 2-0.
And it's about landing that pitch too, that slider. Really good pitch. See the numbers against it. The opponent's only hitting low 200s against him. You can see Mitch Garver coming out, 2-0 count, just trying to get him back in the strike zone.
He's fallen behind every hitter so far.
And that was the problem last year. He spent so much time behind in the count.
Well, you've got a right-hander on deck in Brent Rooker, and then a left-hander to follow after that in J.J. Bleday. And because of that, Saucedo is warming. This is the third batter for Bizardo, so he has to face Butler. Of course, they would leave him in there to face the righty Rooker. If it got any further than that, you imagine it would be Saucedo to face Bleday. That would be the left on left. It's 3-0 now. Trying to keep this game close.
Yeah, keep it 2-0. Saw this last night with Clerk in that 8th inning. A chance to get to that A's bullpen.
That just misses. It's a 4-pitch walk to Butler, and now the A's have a runner in scoring position. Well, Mariners baseball is back, and it's not too late to become a season ticket member. You can check out a flex plan and choose your games and seats as you go, while still enjoying perks like saving 10% or more on tickets with no fees. You can join the team at mariners.com/flex. Now, Pete Woodworth out for a conversation. So couple of trips out there to check in on Pizzardo.
This is 50% going over a bit of a scouting report against Brent Rooker. So what he did last at bat, but more importantly, just trying to get the right words to say to Pizzardo, hey, listen, whatever you need to do, get in the strike zone, get that weak contact, get on the ground. Let's get out of this inning.
One out, two on for a dangerous batter in Brent Rooker. A very borderline pitch, and Pizzardo gets the call for strike one. I think you see Tracer had it just beneath the bottom of the strike zone.
Away with one right there. Only one middle of the plate. It's a dangerous hitter.
1-2. Rooker last year a major run producer. A career year. Trying to expand there. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And if you're going to go in to Brent Rooker, he has to be in off the plate. There's so much damage, especially down and in.
Another one. Right over the plate, late on it. And this will be the last batter for Pizzardo.
Big out.
One out, 2 on. The 2-2. And he swings and misses on an elevated fastball. Pizzardo able to put Rooker away for a critical out number 2.
That's the biggest swing and miss. We saw the home run that was up and in against Castillo. This one just elevated enough. And Brent Rooker with 6 strikeouts.
Here comes Dan Wilson. Left-handed bat of Bleday is due up next. Sato coming into pitch. Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by T-Mobile, with America's largest 5G network. T-Mobile is your ticket to the game. And by your local Buick GMC. See your Northwest GMC dealer. Now, big spot here. Taylor Saucedo making his season debut, facing the number 3 hitter for the A's, and a couple of men on base.
Taylor Saucedo, you see the numbers, a bit of an up and down year last year. He had that knee injury, covering first base, and of course the viral moment on Twitch, playing some video games, I believe it was.
And this is just low. And that was when Sauce was on the injured list.
That's right. Recovering from that knee injury. Yeah, up and down year, that's for sure. And I had a chance to talk to Big Sauce just the other day. So that last year and how tough it was at times, especially obviously being on the IL, but just beating himself up mentally. He wasn't getting the job done. Makes the team this year, and big part of that bullpen.
Well, that's a good pitch, and everybody in blue was waiting for something. Well, you see Tracer has it in the strike zone. In fact, it's ruled ball 2. Two outs, first and second. Yeah, call it even.
Yeah.
Saucedo last year, even though he was on the injured list, a career high 53 appearances. In fact, it was his second straight season of at least 50 outings. Two.
That's that big sweeper. Started to throw that pitch more and more last year when you started to get comfortable with it. And if he can land that pitch left on left, that is such a big weapon. So he goes back to it here, 3-2.
Here comes the payoff. Broken bat, a little loop. Tough play. Polanco can't make it cleanly. Now Wilson's coming home and he scores standing. And the softest hit ball all night drives in the A's 3rd run.
Man, you make a pitch, it's 3-2, you get that fastball, you're on the attack, a little broken bat, and then all of a sudden, and you can see Polanco just kind of pull back a little bit, and then he felt like he had to rush. And he took his eyes off, looking up and seeing where the runner was. Man, this is tough, and not to mention the fact you got 2 outs. That means Jacob Wilson's rounding that bag. It's a tough break for everyone, especially Taylor Saucedo. We talked about him beating himself up last year in certain times. Nothing more frustrating, especially these next couple of pitches. You have something like that happen, you execute, play doesn't get made behind you, and all of a sudden you're anchoring on that play, and it affects these next couple pitches.
Gets good chase on a changeup. Saucedo does get a lot of swing and miss. That was the case last year, especially on that changeup. Two outs, runners on the corners. Towards the gap in left center field. Langeliers a base hit. And here comes Butler. He scores easily from 3rd. Meanwhile, Bleday held at 3rd base. A second run of the inning comes home, and the A's now lead at 4-0.
Yeah, we talked about anchoring on that last play, how it affects the next at bat. So you're just not able to execute this pitch.
Did you want that pitch more out of the strike zone?
Yeah, I think too. Look, like I'm talking about, the situation, you're already frustrated. You're giving up that run. You felt like you were a millisecond from getting out of it with that broken bat. And then you start to rush. And you start to lose just a little bit of focus, and that ball leaks out over the plate.
This is down the line off the bat of Soderstrom, and just fair. That goes into the stands. Well, that's a break for the Mariners. It is a ground rule double. 5-0 Oakland.
I saw Soderstrom last night hit that home run into right field. Similar pitch. Just getting some short.
Right over the short wall. Brings home Bleday. And Langeliers has to stop at third. Miguel Andujar pinch hitting for Brown. An inning that has unraveled a little bit on just a 40-some mile-an-hour beanbag over the mound that has opened up the floodgates here. Up and in. Two outs, two in scoring position. And Garver keeps that from going to the backstop. 3-1.
You can see Sauce looking down his hands. Same grip as Arizona just a couple days ago. Especially too when dealing with that frustration.
Big chop off the plate and a foul ball. Well, we'll see what the final few innings for the Mariners looks like at the plate. But unless the Mariners get things turned around in a hurry offensively, what happens here in this inning is a non-issue. The Mariners have had almost nothing going offensively. They have no runs on 3 hits. They will be dipping into that A's bullpen for the first time at the bottom of the 7th. They got to get something going in a hurry. And now they need at least 6 runs. That was close, and it's a ball. And Andujar draws a walk. And the crowd getting a little restless.
I've been here before, trust me, plenty of times where Taylor Saucedo is where you're frustrated, you're trying to get that good feel, you're dealing with that pitch clock as well, so it feels like the game's speeding up. All of a sudden you walk a guy 16 pitches in.
It's all the strike.
To take that breath, reset, whatever that little mechanical cue is you have to get you back inside the strike zone, get your team back in the dugout.
Now, nobody's warming up for the Mariners. This is
on you.
This is on Saucedo to get out of the 7th inning. Bases loaded, 2 outs. A soft flick. It is into right field. Robles closing, lays out, and Victor Robles makes the catch. Man, do the Mariners need that one. Stops the bleeding in the top of the 7th. And if there was ever a time for a great defensive play, that was it. The A's leave them loaded but damage dealt. A 3-run 7th, and it's 5-0 Oakland as we stretch. Play Mariners Scratch from Washington's Lottery, and you could be out of here with a trip to 2026 spring training in sunny Arizona. Play today. Now you're looking at the Julio bat flip bobblehead. Free to the first 10,000 fans each day, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday when the Tigers come to town. All 3 games, Mariner value games. That means tickets starting as low as just $10.
Is Jackson bugging you, hitting you up for one of those right now? Or?
That'll happen.
Is he a big bobblehead?
He is, yeah. We're out of room on the shelf, though. We got to put another shelf up. Rosarena leads things off. New pitcher on the mound. A pretty inexperienced guy, Justin Sterner. He made his major league debut last year at the age of 27. This is only his 3rd ever major league appearance. Pitched twice last year for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, we saw Ferguson last night. You mentioned his story. He was in the minor leagues for a long time. And then Sterner at the Athletics. Bullpen together with some journeymen, that's for sure. But here right now, these Mariner hitters are happy not to be looking at Jeffrey Springs, man. He was dominant tonight.
Well, that's what you need, some base runners. Randy Rosarena draws a leadoff walk.
Yeah, talking about Jeffrey Springs, that changeup, man. 6 of the 9 strikeouts. 9 strikeouts last time he was in this building. And look, the Mariners, if there's ever a team you want to face who they hit 203 against the changeup, 2nd worst last year against that pitch, and he just kept dishing that pitch out all 6 innings. But he looked good tonight.
Langeliers quickly out for a trip as Sterner's thrown just 1 strike to the first 2 batters so far. Well, last night the Mariners offense had to wait. They did not score until the 7th. They tied the game and then took the lead in the 8th inning. Mariners have not put a run up on the board so far today as we open up the bottom of the 7th inning.
Yeah, in that 8th inning last night, Aaron, we were talking about the Athletics bridging that gap to get to Mason Miller. Know all about him. Really do it again tonight too. So Sterner, the way he's throwing the ball right now, there's a bit more breathing room. Struggling to find the strike zone.
Well, the way it's stacking up right now, the Mariners are down to their final 9 outs, trailing by 5 runs. (2-0).
I was looking around baseball yesterday, and a lot of bullpen guys getting beat up, struggling. I was thinking about it too, and coming out of spring training, you have those those short stints, a couple days off, you pitch again. You're a bullpen guy. And I was thinking about the difference is in spring training, you're going to get you pitch in that 5th, 6th inning as spring training goes along, so you may get that that AA, that AAA guy, or maybe even an A-ball kid, and they're going to be more aggressive, so you're going to get more swing and miss, more chase, that's for sure. Then all of a sudden the regular season happens, the approach changes, hitters are way more locked in, they've got the scouting report, they're way more patient. That's a little bit of a tougher adjustment for bullpen guys.
Garver calls for time. He steps out, 3 balls and 2 strikes. So Rosarena at first base. Way outside. 2nd straight walk. It's funny you mentioned all the bullpen guys that got beat up around the game yesterday. Half of the runs scored in all of the majors yesterday came in the 7th inning or later. And for the Mariners, all 4 of their runs, of course, came in the 7th inning or later. So I don't know if there's anything really to read into that long term, but over the course of one day, I know you were talking about maybe some reasons why, but.
Well, usually everyone talks about the hitters are way behind, at the beginning of the year. Obviously guys now who throw triple digits, majority of them. And hitters, it always takes them a little bit of time to catch up. But I was just thinking about that, looking around the league, and obviously with our game here, the runs that were scored in that 8th inning, but thanks to this man right here, Jorge Polanco, I was thinking to myself, you know what? You're in that 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're facing guys who are going to be way more aggressive. And then the minute the lights go on, regular season, everything tightens up. Hitters just don't chase because these are major league hitters.
We just saw veteran TJ McFarland warming up, lefty in the bullpen for the A's. He pitched last night. This is the 3rd batter for Sterner facing Polanco. Can he deliver something late again? Center cut fastball for a strike. This is down the line, slicing foul. And it's 0-2 quickly on Jorge. Right-hander now warming up as well for the Athletics. And Spence just got up. Trying to straighten that out a little bit. Still 0-2. Now the Mariners need to chip away a little bit, and they have to find a way to take advantage of the first two runners reaching. Down by 5 runs. You don't need to get all 5 of them back here, but you got to get something. 0-2. Popped up. Langeliers is off with the mask, and this is into the crowd. Sterner was claimed off waivers from the Rays in November. This is his 3rd time on a major league mound, and he's walked the first 2 batters. This skips away from Langeliers, but he gets on it quickly, and everybody has to stay put.
Yeah, I mean, you have to draw up that quick scouting report with someone you haven't really seen a whole lot of. With Sterner, so you haven't got all the video or the data on him, but already just from being on the on-deck circle on the top step of that dugout, you can tell there's really nothing in the strike zone that can beat you. Polanco fouling off some pitches right now. I mean, he's going to get that sweeper. You can see the difference between that and the fastball. Only 93 on the fastball. Get something middle of the plate. Stay up the middle.
The 2-2. Wow. Very close.
You're going to get a fastball right here, too. You have a 5-run lead, no one out. You haven't landed that sweeper at all.
3-2. Big bouncer right side. Flag down. Muncy throws to second, and Wilson is able to hop over. And they get the out on Garver at second base. So runners on the corners, 1 out.
And you see Muncy showing off that range. Really able to get the 1 with Mitch Garver running at you.
Rosarena into third. Runners on the corners now.
That's where Solano, 37 years old. Veteran. And watching from that on deck circle, lay off that breaking ball, get that pitch right there.
Now Solano's calling card is contact, right? He is someone who has not struck out very much at all over the course of his career, and that's the kind of guy you want at the plate right now, facing an inexperienced right-hander. Long conversation here with our home plate umpire. It's 0-2 in a hurry on Solano.
Yeah, that was a deep conversation back there.
And he strikes out for the 3rd time. He chases that cutter just off the plate. 2 outs.
Yeah, really, first time he's executed that secondary pitch, and a good one.
Now the Mariners had the first 2 men reach in the 5th and could not cash in. And they've had the first 2 men reach here in the 7th. Luke Raley grabs the bat. He will hit for Dylan Moore. And here comes Kotsay.
Luke Raley out of the lineup with Springs, that left on left. And he's getting a chance, 2nd night in a row.
We've got a pitching change. 2 outs and 2 on. Bottom of the 7th. McFarland coming in. A's in front 5-0 here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Well, this is where things got interesting last night. Randy Arozarena tying things up with his first home run of the season. That came in the 8th.
110 mile per hour off the bat, and then this straightaway center field. Polanco.
Luke Raley pinch hitting. Do the Mariners have something like that up their sleeves again tonight? TJ McFarland pitching for the 2nd straight day, facing Raley. Oh, 1. Last year, Raley had his most at-bats he's ever had against lefties. Still not many at all. And he goes down quickly. That sweeper from McFarland makes quick work of the bottom of the 7th. The Mariners cannot cash in on back-to-back walks to lead off the frame. Tonight's Muckleshoot Casino Resort Penn Report. We know that Matt Brash missed last year because of Tommy John. The year before that, it was incredible. 78 games to lead all major league relievers, in ERA just a touch over 3. And one of the great strikeout seasons by a Mariner reliever in franchise history. We saw Brash up on the mound in the final Cactus League game. He picked up a couple of strikeouts, touched 98 miles an hour, and the Mariners are very hopeful that we will be seeing him back on the field in a Mariners uniform before the end of April.
Yeah, I'm sure he is too. He talked about how emotional that was, you know, after the long road back from surgery. But man, forget how many games he pitched in 2023, how effective he was. Majority of them in high leverage situations as well. Putting out that fire.
Muncy with a blast to left center field, and his first hit in the show is an absolute no-doubter. That was throttled, and Max Muncy leaves the yard and makes it 6-0 Athletics. 430 feet.
Man, what a way to get your first hit in the big leagues. 0-2 changeup, middle of the plate. And we saw some range from him from second base. We know he can run. And he's got this too. Some power deep into the night here in Seattle.
Wilson to his counterpart, J.P. Crawford.
Doing the getting the silent treatment in that dugout. I mean that's hung around for a long time, right, in baseball?
Oh, silent treatment?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
They're still doing that? It was back in my day.
The best is when they actually vacate the dugout.
Yeah, that is the best. I thought they were doing that. Maybe they were. I can't remember. I didn't participate, Aaron. I'm too much of a professional.
Well, you're just a get off my lawn kind of guy.
Yeah, that's me.
So it's 6-0 A's now. Mariners have been held to just 3 hits. On the corner for a strike, 1-2.
Tough night for Saucedo. We talked about that last inning. Got that little broken bat flare that barely got out of the infield grass. Turned into the inning we saw last in the 7th inning. But you know, these are the ones that you can't mail it in, right? You can't sit there and go, you know what, I've had a rough night, I'll get them tomorrow. These are the ones that you can learn a lot from. Now, it's easy for me sitting up in the booth because, man, I've had plenty of these and you just want to go crawl in a hole somewhere. But these are the ones that you got a long season. You got 6 months of baseball in front of you. You're going to have plenty of these as the season goes on. And how do you get through them? You see Dan Wilson.
Carlos Vargas has been warming up. We've got a pitching change with 2 outs. overall, it was a pretty solid season debut for Luis Castillo. 2 runs over 5 innings. He picked up those 4 strikeouts.
Yeah, labored in that last inning of work, giving up a couple home runs, a Brent Rooker home run, 19 pitches, but I saw some good things. Velocity was good for most of the night, 95s, 96. A chance to see Carlos Vargas make his Mariners debut.
And this finds some grass in center field. A 2-out knock for Brent Rooker. Now Vargas hasn't been to the big leagues since 2023. He appeared in just 5 games that season out of the Diamondbacks bullpen, making his Mariners debut. He came over to Seattle in the Eugenio Suarez trade.
And the guys out of options coming out of spring training, so gets a huge chance right now. Essentially audition to try and stick around here with the Seattle Mariners.
And the Mariners are in this kind of murky situation where they are a month to maybe 2 months from getting their bullpen kind of fully fortified.
Yeah.
We know about Matt Brash. Troy Taylor missed spring training because of a lat issue. He was able to get on the mound in spring training, never pitched in a Cactus League game, but they're feeling good about his recovery. And then Jackson Kowar, who we've never seen in a Mariners uniform, he had Tommy John as well. They're hoping to get him back by the end of May. They had hard on the ground. Polanco, who's taken over at second base, can't get there. Bleday, a base hit. Rooker into third, played there, and it's off of Solano. Not sure it would have gotten there in time.
Yeah, another ball finding the outfield grass. Out of reach. Polanco, look at that throw. Robles showing off that arm here in the 8th inning. Yeah, you mentioned you're in a situation, if you're Vargas right now, you're out of options. Didn't have a great spring, by the way. 5 ERA, 8 2/3 innings to get 9 games, but you get to this spot.
Time called by the umpire. We've got a pitch clock violation.
But you can't get caught, trying to play GM when you know some of these guys are coming back. You read up about how close they are or who's coming back and when they are. You just have to go out and let it fly because, look, you're out of options situation. If you are put on waivers, someone else can pick you up. But this is your window right now. Don't stick around. Plus, injuries happen obviously in the bullpen. I've been in that spot before. You make the team and that leash is short. No guys are coming back.
2-0 to Langoliers. Now Vargas is a guy who's always had a big arm, but command has been an issue. He was in Tacoma last year. 55 appearances out of the Rainiers bullpen.
You see that 96 with Sink. Just going to get in that strike zone. When you're on the staff too with the Mariners, the top priority is command. I mean, best strike percentage last year, first pitch strike percentage as a staff. Pitching coach Pete Woodworth, who does such a good job identifying what you do well.
On the ground, JP, long underhand flip to Polanco covering for out number 3. Mariners running out of time. They need a bit of a charge offensively, to say the least. JP Crawford will lead things off, and then it's the top of the order, Victor Robles and Julio. Bottom of the 8th, 6-0 Athletics. Well, don't miss out on this season's Julio Bobble giveaway. Next week, you'll have 3 chances to take home the J-Rod Bat Flip Bobble Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Tickets starting at just $10. All 3 games are Mariner value games. Mariners.com/tickets. Yeah, the bat spins. J.P. Crawford leads it off. New pitcher on the mound, Mitch Spence for the A's. You know, well, let's have a level-headed conversation about this, Ivan, because last night the Mariners were playing a game that was very eerily familiar, especially with Logan Gilbert on the mound. They had nothing going until really the 8th inning offensively, and tonight the Mariners have no runs on 3 hits as we open up the bottom of the 8th. I'll start by saying if the Mariners had come out and gone gangbusters last night offensively and tonight as well, it would by no means mean that the Mariners were going to be guaranteed this incredible offensive season, right?
Yeah.
2 games does not make a year. That being said, I think it's safe to say that offensively it has not started exactly how the Mariners would have hoped for. Mariners did get enough to win last night. That is important to state. I mean, the Mariners got some big home runs late, and they did win the game, but it was not a pretty sight up until the 8th inning in particular. And tonight they've had almost nothing going offensively. And the strikeouts, which were not a problem last night, they have been a problem tonight.
Yeah, and I think too, you know, just going back to 2023 into 2024, 23, the strikeout numbers were high. And then all of a sudden 24, you're hoping to cut down on that a little bit. But what happens is early on, you know, as you're trying to get into this groove, obviously as a group, that rapport in the cage, you know, batting practice with Edgar Martinez or you know, with the pitches with Woody and Trent Blank and everything else. You're just trying to get to that place where everything feels right. And so what can happen is a situation like this, you mentioned last night, you know, obviously lack of offense until we got to the 8th inning, and tonight, obviously a big 0. You just don't want a situation where it's like, oh, okay, here we go again. Even in last year, you know, the first couple of weeks of the season, but they got off to a good start, but you could start to see, you know, some of the flaws there, obviously the swing and miss. And so that's where it takes in the clubhouse, on the bus when you hit that first road trip, on the plane when you hit that first road trip, whatever it is, you just have to have that energy. It's like, hey, you know, this is a season. This is a new season. Everything's different. We're all good.
Robles grounds out, 2 away.
It's tough, though. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my point is to be a little clear on it, is that 2 games does not make a season, whether they are 2 remarkable games or 2 forgettable games, yeah. Right? So it's one of those things where it's always more pressing when it happens early because you have nothing to compare it to. Right? If you have 2 duds in July, you have a half season leading up to that point. But needless to say, it has not gotten off to a great start offensively, albeit in just almost 2 full games.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, 2 games in July, and you're looking at this thinking, okay, well, look, we're 1-1. If this is the way it sticks around, we're okay. But you get emotional too. I was looking at this guy, Julio Rodriguez, before the game in the clubhouse. We're watching some, you know, guys talking on MLB Network and breaking down swings and everything else. And there's so much that goes into it. Mentally, there's so much that goes into it too. When you're having success, when you're struggling, you know, behind the scenes. So it's tough not to think about what went on last year and comparing. But look, it's a new year. New field, new culture in that clubhouse as well.
This is just past Soderstrom into right field, and Julio picks up a knock. His first hit of the season.
And I tell you what, look, rides in that man right there, Julio Rodriguez. We've talked about it a ton. Talked about at the end of last year, and even during spring training. When he gets going, the offense goes with him.
2-out base runner for the Mariners. That's their first hit since the 5th inning. Here's Cal Raleigh. Cal looking for his first hit of the young season. He's walked in each of the first 2 games. Two and two. Cal goes down on strikes. Julio stranded. Mariners shut out over the first 8 innings. Well, tomorrow we are on the air at 6 o'clock. Bryce Miller will get his first start of the year. Osvaldo Bido, 29-year-old, just 18 big league starts. Entering the season, will take the ball for the Athletics. This is out towards left field. Randy is able to get there, keep his feet, and make the catch. Takes a hit away from Tyler Soderstrom.
Love it. Randy Arozarena showing off some of that range in left field. By the way, too, you're down by 6. Sometimes you're kind of caught on your heels a little bit. First pitch of a inning, but all over that. Speaking of heels, look at those spikes.
Oh, yeah. And the gloves and the elbow guard to go with it. Andujar, the batter. Well, we'll always looking forward to when we get to see that man pitch.
Yes.
Bryce Miller, who last year, his first full season, had one of the best ERAs in baseball, a sub-3. He was one of the most dominant pitchers in the second half of the season. You know what Brian Wu said about him, the pitching ninja?
What's that?
Brian Wu, good friend of Bryce Miller, said, you know, Bryce sounds kind of dumb, but he's actually really smart. What are friends for?
Yeah.
We told you the rotation was tight.
Yeah, you sound really dumb, but you're kind of intelligent.
Yeah, there's Brian.
There he is. That's nice. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
What a compliment.
We'll be seeing Brian on Sunday, some day baseball against these A's. Duhar skies this. Vargas points. Everybody's coming in. Who's got it? On the mound, right by the rubber, is J.P. Crawford.
It's tough running up that mound. Tell you what, Bryce Miller, the fact 30+ starts last year was huge. You mentioned the sub-3. You take a look at this. You see Carlos Vargas just kind of waiting for someone to call him off. Finally, like, yep, get out of the way. I got you. By the way, I'm already like by the dugout as soon as I see that ball go up anywhere near me.
Well, look who it is. Luis Arias, former Mariner.
So last season, 41 games, opening day roster. He was kind of that platoon option down at third base. Struggled. Sent to AAA.
He's batting for Urshela. Chance to get him in late with a 6-0 lead. Say it ain't so. Wow. Sometimes it's just not your night, and that's been the case for the Mariners this evening. Luis Arias, of all people, comes back to T-Mobile Park and shoots a bolt over the fence in left field, and it's 7-0 Athletics.
It's just a hanging slider right here, and Urias is jumping all over it again. We flashed up the numbers he had last year, and you see Randy Arozarena's just given up on that in about 2 seconds flat.
We'll come back here to Vargas. Muncy running quickly, but out at first base. And the side is retired. Well, 7-0 Athletics. Mariners are down to their final 3 outs. Welcome into the booth, Aaron Goldsmith and Ryan Rowland-Smith. And Ryan, you don't want to say in game 2 of the season it's a turn the page game, but it feels like it's got all the makings of turn the page. Right. The Mariners just have got nothing going offensively tonight. Yeah, nothing going offensively. I mean, look, Jeffrey Springs, he was tough. You know, the Mariners after 2024, the struggles they had against lefties and changeups, but man, he was next level tonight, that's for sure. But look, second game of the season, you walk away from this 1-on-1 if it stays the way it does. Just turn some music on in the clubhouse and get ready for a Saturday game with Bryce Miller on the mound. Miller going tomorrow, Wu on Sunday. Arozarena leading things off. You look at what this A's pitching staff has done to the top of the order. Let's call it the top 4 for the Mariners. So Robles, Julio, Cal, and Arozarena. And those 4 have combined for a single and a walk. And it's pretty hard to envision a night where the Mariners are productive offensively when those 4 hitters don't get anything going offensively. Right.
Yeah, a lot of chase too. Again, going back to Jeffrey Springs situation where I felt like you could have knocked him out early in this game. He ended up going 6. He doesn't usually go deep into games. But man, look, he was tough. Yeah, tip your cap to him as well.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Springs, and you bring up a good point. I mean, there's a reason why the Rays gave him a 4-year extension, right? I think when you think about the Mariners last year offensively and what's happened tonight, what stands out is when the Mariners have prolonged stretches within a game. I'm talking 5 to 6 to 7 innings of just nothing offensively, right? That's the hole that you dig yourself into,
right.
And that happened here tonight. We saw it a lot last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to run up against the dudes, right? You're going to run up against the Tarek Skubals and that kind of guy, and even Springs, who's got good stuff with that great changeup. But it's just when the world goes flat for 7 innings.
Yeah, and again, look, I don't mean to keep reflecting on years past, but you come into a 2025 season where you're coming off a year in 2024 where you turned it on offensively. You were top 10 in runs per game when you're talking that last little stretch. Julio Rodriguez started to get going. You got Victor Robles, who was just tearing it up. So you're coming off that. So you're thinking to yourself, all right, there's a little bit of a shift here in the way we do things offensively. And then all of a sudden you run into a Jeffrey Springs who is just throwing an invisible changeup down and away all night. And so you can't help but think, especially when you're in the top step of that dugout, walking to the clubhouse, you can't help but think, oh, look, this is kind of what we ran into last year. And that's where you need to have that veteran leadership. This guy right here, Mitch Garver, Julio, Cal Raleigh, Dan Wilson, Edgar, guys like that who can quickly turn the page.
Garver hanging up into left field, and the catch made.
And move on to game number 3 tomorrow, and know that, hey, look, we're doing things differently this year, and we're moving on from some of these flatlining offenses that we saw last year.
You have a pinch hitter.
As long as he's smirking, smiling, Bryce Miller, all good. He's going tomorrow night.
Miles Mastrobuoni getting set to make his Mariners debut. He will bat for Polanco. The last Mariner position player to get an at-bat. Just the 2nd game of the year. Mastrobuoni acquired via trade from the Cubs in January.
He started last year with the Cubs. 191 batting average.
He's been a bench player in the majors the last 3 years. Last 2 seasons with Chicago. Great defensive versatility. Mariners down to their final out on this one. Mastrobuoni was DFA'd by Chicago when the Cubs acquired Matt Festa, former Mariner reliever. Went to Chicago from Texas. Right back, like it grazed the glove and starts to dive by second base, and Miles Mastrobuoni's got himself an infield base hit in his first at-bat as a Mariner.
A split second, you see that ball kind of bounce off that pitcher's glove. They're going hard, regardless of the score, regardless of the situation, pushing for that base hit.
And Wilson, a nice bare hand play there by second, but that glove on the mound just slowed things down just enough by Spence. Here's Solano. Ground ball. Muncy circles around it And wide throw, and they call him out of the base path. Solano is ruled out, and he can't believe it. And here comes Dan Wilson. This is not a play you can challenge. The A's are getting ready to celebrate. I don't think there's anything you can do about this.
Yeah, this is not something, like you said, Aaron, you can challenge, but it doesn't look like he went that far.
No,
out
it
of the
does.
line.
It does not. You're right. And Dan Wilson still talking things over.
Maybe a situation where you can do a little umpire review.
Well, the A's are waiting for the handshake line here. And the umpires are about to walk off. That's the ball game. The A's win this one, and the Mariners are shut out 7-0 in the second game of the season.
Yeah, I think Jeffrey Springs, who started this game, who was acquired from the Tampa Bay Rays. It was that fastball changeup down and away. Dominated 9 strikeouts. That's what we saw last time we saw him, but just nothing doing offensively from the Seattle Mariners tonight.
Mariners post game brought to you by Emerald Queen Casino with Jen, Angie, and Brad begins in 90 seconds.